Hello and welcome back. Let's look into the possibilities of the experience that we may have when we are in our 5D consciousness. Now, first of all, you are probably very familiar with the term of 3D versus 5D, even 4D. This transitionary period that we are in, moving towards a higher state of consciousness, towards a higher state of being, transcending our egoic self, transcending fear, transcending the limitations that we've built within our unconscious self for most of our lives, transcending an old life that we have been accustomed to move towards something more liberating, to move towards something more of unconditional love, expansiveness, limitless potential, synchronicities, when we are completely open to creation. Now, creation means that we are creators. We are creators when we are connected with our pure potential, our pure source, our true self, and thus, of course, creating with the relationship of the with the relationship with the universe, being connected with the universe. But in order to do that, we must arrive to our full state of being, meaning our true, authentic self, our true self, our pure self, however you want to term it. When we are aligned with our pure potential, without fear, without the limitations, without the old programs, without our shadow, without the impositions of society and the false belief systems, etc. When we have become one with ourself, the state of individuation, the state of transcendence, the state of self-actualization, then we are going to be moving towards or moving into the 5D consciousness or being in the 5D consciousness. So a lot of us are on track for that. A lot of us are experiencing it in many different ways. Now, I do believe that one of the more important aspects of this is how we are going to create our reality based on this new experience, based on this new sense of self, based on us arriving into a state of knowing of who we are and what we're capable of, but also feeling what unconditional love feels like. And that feeling of unconditional love is very powerful. It's very pure and it is very creative. That is where we get to create from. That's where we get to connect from. We get to open up ourselves to relationships, to meaningful relationships, to relationships that are on that level as well. But also what we get to do is create a reality based on that feeling, based on the knowing of ourselves and the life that we want to live, the life that we want to create, the relationships that we want in our lives, and maybe the one relationship that we want in our life. And so in order for us to get there, we must, of course, I mentioned this in many videos, go through our shadow, go through these false beliefs, go back into the past, connect the dots. It's a bit of reworking and restructuring and dismantling in order for us to restructure and realign or align with this 5D consciousness, this path that we're on, aligning with our pure self, aligning with source, aligning with limitless possibilities. And so when we are in the 5D consciousness, and I've had this conversation with a dear friend of mine as well. I mentioned it on one of my other videos, on a live video, and I want to go deeper into this because I feel that the one area that I'm touching on here is going to be a very important part of this next experience that we are going to have in our life, maybe even a new world that we are going to create. And this new world, this new experience is going to be one of a higher level experience, meaning we have transcended from our fear, from, I speak about the 5 or the 7 different traits of difficulties according to Dr. Michael Lincoln, which I like to stick to because it allows us to pinpoint some of the more difficult aspects from the 3D experience within ourselves in order to look at within ourselves to transcend from. And those 7 experiences being fear, shame, guilt, grief, resentment, criticism, anger. And so when we have addressed these difficulties within ourselves, when we have peeled back our unconscious false beliefs, our unconscious programs, our limitations, the fears that reside within ourselves, the persona that has been built from our egoic self, the state of separation that we have lived within or lived under for a long time, then we are going to become one. We are going to be able to connect with others more. We are going to be able to trust more. We are going to be able to create more. We are going to be connected with all. We are going to be connected with source. We are going to be connected with ourselves in a multidimensional way. And when we arrive in that place, we are also going to be able to define our experiences. We are going to also be able to avoid harmful experiences that are happening in this world. And this is the main direction of this video, is to build awareness or create awareness around the type of reality that we want to experience. And I feel that when we are in a greater state of understanding and awareness and connected with our intuitive self and in a higher state of being, if you want to call it 5D consciousness, when we are tuned in and when we are really aware within ourselves and honoring our true self and arrived in a state of individuation, wholeness, we will be able to differentiate our path. We will be able to differentiate where we invest our time and our energy, who we invest our time and energy with, what kind of areas in the world we want to live in, what kind of areas feel comfortable and feel safe versus what areas may not. And so I do feel that when we are connected with our intuitive self, when we are connected with our whole self, our whole being, and connected with one another in that state of consciousness, that higher state of consciousness, we are going to be able to create a reality based on that experience. We will not succumb to the hardships or the devastations that are happening within the world. And I did mention this in one of my other videos. The devastations and the hardships in the world will happen and will have to happen. I heard a really great term, or a really great, I guess, comparison or analogy of what is happening now, the war of consciousness, this divide of consciousness that is happening within the world. And that is truly what is happening, where there is a part of humanity that is evolving, that is moving towards a greater state of consciousness, towards a higher state of consciousness. And therefore they are creating a different reality. And those who have not progressed and who have not opened up themselves to levels of consciousness will remain in the old story or in the happenings of the world that is perpetually unfolding, or even, I would say, remaining in the state that it has been, but is just taking a new form. It's just taking a different form. It's sort of morphing into modern times, morphing into modern issues and problems and challenges, but it's still remaining a part of the 3D reality, part of the old patriarchy, part of fear, part of corruption, part of control, part of shame, and the 7 aspects that I mentioned as well, perpetuating these feelings and perpetuating sicknesses and illnesses and anger and hostility towards one another. And unfortunately, that part of society has to run its cycle until greater levels of consciousness are formed. It may happen for many lifetimes. It may happen for one lifetime. We're not exactly sure, of course, what is going to unfold and when and how. All we can do is focus on ourselves, on the reality that we choose and that we want, based on the alignment with our inner self, with our inner knowing, and then also, of course, connecting with the future that we truly desire. Now, I firmly believe, and I've gone through experiences as well, where I have been in compromising situations. I have been in very, very questionable situations and with people as well. And I feel that when we are aware, when we are tuned in, and also when we can work with people in a way of compassion and understanding, we can change those dynamics. And this is the ripple effect that we can create in the outer world. If we have transcended over the difficulties, the challenges within ourselves of, say, criticism or judgment or shame or fear or resentment, we will be able to see other people in their functioning, in their way of being, and we will be able to be compassionate towards one another. We will be able to help other people rise above their difficulties and their challenges of, we'll say, the 3D experience. And we'll be able to inspire others as well to be better, to look within, to do the inner work, to break their patterns, to love one another, to be compassionate to one another, rather than criticize one another, rather than shaming one another, rather than attacking one another. And this is part of the unraveling and the unwinding of the programs that have been instilled within us for a long time. Now, some people can argue that this is intentional. Some people will argue that this is part of our human experience and evolution. Wherever you land on your belief, it all is going to lead us to this one point of we are in control of our reality. We can be in control of our reality if we choose to. And we have the right within ourselves to make the changes within ourselves if we choose to. We can remain in the same perpetual patterns and remain stuck and in an old story of an old way of being, an old time, or we can create a new way, a better way, a healthier way, an empowered and emboldened way, and inspire others to do so and create meaningful connections, work in community, work together, open our hearts, open our doors, and we will be able to trust and be able to cultivate relationships that resemble how we feel about ourselves deep within. And of course, this is a massive unfolding that we are in, but I do feel that there is going to be more devastation happening in this world as we move along. It is happening right now, and it is going to continue happening until society shifts their consciousness, until society is able to love and able to rise above the perpetual patterns that they have been living in their entire lives, and then pass down to generation and generation and generation. And so we are responsible for breaking those patterns individually. And we have to also allow everyone on this planet, in this world, to do the same on their own time. This is something that cannot be forced. It has to come naturally. It has to come from every person individually looking at life differently. And it has to happen when they are ready. But for us individually, for yourself, you are on your own unique path. And it is important for you to focus on yourself right now. It is important for you to focus on the kind of life you want, who you want to be, the kind of lifestyle you want, the type of future that you are desiring. And then focus on yourself. And then also bring other people into the fold. What kind of relationships do you want? What kind of community do you want? What kind of love relationship do you want? And that is going to be part of the process of unraveling from the past false beliefs that have been limiting, that have been restricting, that have been maybe putting oneself in compromising, difficult situations, or maybe attracting toxic, unhealthy relationships, and then recreating a whole new reality based on how you feel about yourself when you are aligned with your true self, when you are aligned with your whole self, your full abilities and capabilities, and thus tapping into the connection of the 5D consciousness, elevating yourself beyond the limits of your egoic self, the persona, the fears, the false beliefs that have been ingrained deep within the unconscious, and creating a new reality beyond that. And when you create the new reality beyond that, you will naturally you will place yourself in situations that are going to support who you are, where you are in the future that you desire. So you will therefore avoid the catastrophic situations that will happen in the world. You will be part of a new world. You will be part of a new experience, one that is in alignment with a higher state of being, this 5D consciousness. And so you will naturally know where to be. You will naturally know who to welcome into your life, who to work with, who to be in a relationship with, because you will know who you are. And you will have elevated beyond the limitations and the fears of the false beliefs within self. And through the process of the deep exploration, you open up greater levels of consciousness. You see more, you witness more, you understand more, and you be more because of that, right? And so we will naturally be able to elevate beyond the catastrophic events that are happening in this world. We will also be able to help others move beyond it as well. When we are in a place of awareness within ourselves, we will be able to help others. We will be able to inspire. We will be able to awaken other people also throughout their journey. So this evolution into 5D consciousness has many different aspects to look at, but the one aspect that I find quite interesting now, especially with the great unfoldings happening in the world, there are going to be many of us who are going to rise above the difficult situations that are going to happen and continue to happen until it's run its course. We will be able to put ourselves in situations where we will not be in harm. We will be able to put ourselves in situations that will inspire and help us evolve and help us create the life that we truly desire. And we will be able to avoid harmful situations. And the beauty of it as well, when we are connected with this 5D consciousness, we will also be able to find people who are on the same path. The like attracts like. There are many people going through this process right now, and know that you are not alone. And I'm going to create a whole separate video on the loneliness factor of being alone on this path, why it needs to happen, and how to work through it. But you are not alone. And you soon will find more and more people who are ready to embrace relationships and community and evolve together. And it already is happening. There already is quite a large demographic of people in this process right now. So the main takeaway of this is to focus on yourself and the life that you want, and to trust that when you are in alignment with yourself, when you are paying attention to your intuition, your senses, your heart, and when you are aligned with your path forward, the kind of life that you truly desire from your heart, from your deeper self, from your pure self, you will have that. You will avoid the difficulties, the challenges, the unpredictable, difficult events that are going to unfold in our future. Also, a great deal of trust that is required for this journey, to trust ourselves, to trust our inner guidance, to trust our senses, and to trust others with discernment, of course. We need to also be very careful who we trust, and I'm going to get into that in a different video as well. But when we are pure, when we are aware, we will naturally be very conscious around those who we let into our lives, and we will feel our way through this, and it will naturally fall into place. We will naturally find our people. We will naturally find those who we align with. Even in a love relationship, you will find it, and it's going to find you at the exact perfect time that it's meant to. All right, so I'm going to leave it here. If you are looking to deepen your practice, to understand your false beliefs, the limitations, the fears, what is holding you back, to understand your shadow self, join me over on the Shadow Project. It is a self-paced, module-based program. We do now have a WhatsApp group. We meet once a month as well for extra guidance and support, and it will allow you to understand the deeper aspects of yourself and to align with wholeness, harmony, and self-mastery. The Shadow Project is now available. The link is below. I hope to see you there, and I'm wishing you all the best, of course, on your journey and beyond. Take care.